talk some SEC. Here's the game that I'm really kind of intrigued by. Tennessee hosting Georgia, 2:30. And the Dogs, the top 3 team in the country. Tennessee, a team that was really kind of hard for me personally to put my finger on coming into the season, just with everything that transpired. Really, from a psychological standpoint, you lose your quarterback, that plays out in the public court of opinion. The timing of it, not great. Go out, grab Joey Aguilar, coming off a not great season at Appalachian State. Experience. But when you turned him on tape last year, there wasn't a ton to get really excited about. And through 2 weeks, you look at Tennessee offensively, there's a lot to like. And Aguilar's played well. He's playing in a very open, free system. And we've always talked about that being a quarterback-friendly system. But Josh Heupel's a good coach, man. You got to give him a lot of credit. But the thing that's really stood out to me with Tennessee through 2 weeks, granted, only one of those weeks being against a Power 4 opponent. But I really like the way that the offensive line played against Syracuse. Lance Hurd, former 5-star, has his moments. Wendell Moe, who they bring over from Arizona in the transfer portal. Sam Pendleton, who they bring over from Notre Dame. Tennessee only took 7 guys in the transfer portal. They netted 4 to 5 starters. You want to talk about aim small, miss small, program development, same thing that we talked about with Florida. And these were guys in Wendell Moe that I had a second-tier PFA grade on. Sam Pendleton, I had a late day 3 grade on. Still a young guy. And Tennessee goes out, identifies them as fits. Same with Aguilar. Same with Star Thomas, who they bring over from Duke. And these guys are contributing early. Colton Hood, defensive side, same thing. So if you're Tennessee, like that's what a front office does. There's what everybody else sees, and then there's what we see in the building. And in the building, they say, hey, yeah, we know this guy fits us. Both on the field and then from a temperament standpoint, from an experience production standpoint, we know he has what it takes to come in here and help our team win. That's impressive, man. That's impressive roster building. And in this case, it's impressive roster tweaking. Because Tennessee got dealt a really unfortunate hand. And here they are 2 weeks into the season. And I'm not saying people didn't expect them to be 2-0, but the way that they have done it is that you're looking at this team a little bit differently than I think a lot of people would have expected. And you're looking at Mike Matthews, you're looking at Chris Brazzell, you're looking at Braylon Staley. And Joey Aguilar, that deep ball, and then that run game with Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis, Star Thomas. They can throw 3 different guys at you that all bring something a little bit different. And it just looks like Tennessee. And it didn't look like that last year. Now, in this matchup, let's talk about Georgia's defense, because Georgia's defense is what you would expect under Kirby Smart and Glenn Schumann, man. I mean, whew. I know they were a little bit worried about that edge depth. Gabe Harris, Quintavious Johnson has played early. Ella Madozie, they're still trying to ramp up, coming over from West Point. Game seems a little bit big for him right now, but it's what you would expect. Ajanye. And then Glenn Schumann does a really good job throwing a lot of different looks because he has an abundance of riches at the second level between Raylan Wilson, Justin Williams, Christopher Jones, Chris Cole, Dog. and putting those guys in pass rush situations. They can come at you a lot of different ways. And then the big boys in the middle, Jordan Hall, Kristen Miller. Maybe it's not Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, but Kristen Miller is pretty darn good. Now, Elijah Griffin might be one of those guys. I mean, you can tell from just watching Austin Peay, from the size, athleticism, the get off, and the power. Hey, who's that number 90? That guy's different. Everybody can see that. Love him at backer. I didn't even mention CJ Allen. Might be the best one. And then corner is kind of interesting. Daniel Harris, Ellis Robinson had a pick last week. Number 2 player, same year as DJ Lagway. And then still trying to figure out that safety spot that Kyron Jones occupied last week. And I think a lot of people thought that was going to be Ja'Cory Thomas or Adrian Maddox or Zion Branch. So Georgia's defense is Georgia's defense. They set the standard of what it's supposed to look like from a height, weight, speed, depth, attacking standpoint. And we all saw what these guys did against Texas last year on the road. They're every bit as capable. But I do think those matchups, if you're looking for those matchups, I like Tennessee's offensive line. I think the matchups are going to be, hey, what shakes loose with that Tennessee receiving core? And the other part of this is, how many points do you have to get to if you're Tennessee to feel comfortable about this game while you're at home? Georgia's offense, I tweeted about a little bit earlier today, watching against Austin Peay. I'll just give you one word. I was discouraged watching Georgia's offense. I didn't know what to expect. I talked about that 11 yards average depth of target for Colin Klein and Marcel Reed. I tweeted about it earlier today about what this offense looks like under Mike Bobo. What's it look like under Gunnar Stockton? His average depth of target last week was 3.6 yards. 87% of his passing yards came after the catch. And I'm bringing this up because it's something that I thought was not a concern, but a limitation when I evaluated Stockton out of high school. The majority of his production came from within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. And it was a lot of yards after catch. And you look at Georgia, where did they feel like they had to get better last year? Where did they feel like they failed Carson Beck? Receiver. So what do? They go out, they grab Noah Thomas from Texas A&M. They get Zachariah Branch from USC. And they sign a really, really talented Talon Taylor. And you have Colby Young coming back, and you have a plethora of different tight ends that you can mix in the passing game between Oscar Delp, Austin Lucky, Ethan Barber, Jaden Riddell. So for me, it was, all right, Georgia's obviously leaning on this run game that they're trying to get going between Nate Frazier, Dwight Phillips, Chauncey Bowens. They're trying to get that MO back. But to me, it nothing about what they showed last week gave me any confidence about them being able to build upon any type of foundation that they have in the vertical passing game. The ability to stretch the defense with Gunnar Stockton consistently. And they had the players to do it. That's why they went out and they got all conference caliber players in Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch. And Zachariah Branch specifically can be the difference in this Mike Bobo offense if this is the way that they do want to operate. that's going to have to be the guy that steps up. And that make you miss ability is going to be relied upon a lot. So you couple the lack of ability to attack the intermediate to deep part of the field with an offensive line right now that's still trying to figure things out. You lose 5-star Juan Gass in the first week of the season. We'll see if he plays against Tennessee. The reviews out of Athens is they love this guy. Could arguably be the best player in their offensive line already, and he started one game. They think he's day one, hence the reason he was ranked where he was. Goes out with an injury first week of the season against Marshall. And from left to right, this is how it looks. You got Monroe Freeling, left tackle, Michael Morris, left guard, center Drew Bobo. We saw Michael Uwini, at right guard. And then it's Ernest Green, but this past week, we saw a handful of guys work at right tackle, Bo Hewley being one of those guys. Jazeer Jackson being another one of those guys, guy that played basketball not too long ago. And then at right guard, still trying to figure things out. Played Dontrell Glover, a freshman. I mean, and the thing is, when you watch the tape, the right side of the line is a legitimate concern for me. And how are they going to hold up against this front seven in Tennessee? Nathan Robinson, Joshua Josephs, the big guys in the middle. That, to me, is the question mark. So, can you run consistently on Saturday in Knoxville? And if you can't run, what's this going to look like? What are your answers going to be? And this might sound like a hot take, and it's early, and Georgia could very well go into Knoxville and win that game, and I wouldn't be shocked. Obviously very talented. But in my opinion, I would have liked to have seen them bring in another established arm this offseason. And I get it. I get it. Gunnar Stockton came in, helped lead you to an SEC championship under difficult circumstances. Uneven play in the college football playoffs against Notre Dame. And it kind of feels like it was an emotional thing. It's like, all right, this is our guy. Like, this is our guy. We rallied around him. And it's like, all right, but in that moment, you have to take a step back and look at it objectively, even to the point where you can say, hey, I feel strongly about this guy, but to not bring in another established arm to drive the competition, and people say, oh, yeah, Ryan Puglisi. It's not what I'm talking about. What about a Fernando Mendoza? Or Bo Prabula? I mean, there's other guys out there that can navigate this Mike Bobo offense that can keep you ahead of the chains and make you more effective from a complementary standpoint. And you have all that money sunk into that receiver room. Are you going to get a proper return on investment? Those are my questions for Georgia.